Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Welcome to the High Velocity Radio Show, where we celebrate top performers producing better results in less time. Stone Payton here with you this afternoon. You guys are in for a real treat. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast personal development and mindset coach, Nicole Comis. How are you?
I'm so good, Stone. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's exciting to have you in studio. I know we reached out to you because we specifically wanted to have you come share your story. And typically, this particular series we've been doing virtually. And we learned that, you know what, we don't have to do that. We're close enough. We can go into the studio. So it's a delight to have you here. I got a ton of questions. So we probably won't get to them all. But let's start with just describing a little bit about mission, purpose. How are you out there trying to help folks?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I mean, my purpose really is to help people live their best lives, whatever that looks like for them. You know, so many driven professionals tend to focus on their business or their career, and they put on hold the things that matter most. They sacrifice their relationships and their health. And I really want to help people live their best life with every area of life, their careers, their business, their relationships and their health and their confidence, all of it.
Wow, that sounds like noble, just, true work if you can get it.
Yeah.
What was that career path like? How did you end up doing this?
So I started in the mortgage business.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes. So similar, right? But I was in the mortgage business. I was probably 2 years in, and I watched a very good friend of mine and coworker completely transform in front of me. And this is 2003. So coaching was not a common thing. And I didn't know what she was doing, but I didn't care because I just wanted whatever it was. And so she was working with a coach. And so I started working with my first coach, and it completely changed my life. I used to be that girl that looked in the mirror and all I saw was everything that was wrong with me. And coaching helped me develop my confidence. It helped me work through challenges I was having at work and in my career, relationships. And I became a better version of myself. And fast forward 2008, the housing market crash happened. And so did my happiness and my career and my income and my identity. And so for years, I struggled trying to get that love and passion that I once had for my career back, 5 years to be exact. And it just wasn't happening. And so I reached out to another coach, a friend of mine, and 2 sessions in, she started laughing. She goes, "Nicole, you want to be a coach with your life?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're right, I do." And I enrolled in a coach training program, and a couple weeks later, I quit my job and went all in on coaching.
Wow. Man, I applaud you for jumping off or at least from my perspective, that feels like jumping off the cliff.
Oh, it felt like jumping. For sure.
Man, making that transition, it had to be intimidating. It had to be scary, but you did a couple things. You got your inspiration, or your maybe partially permission to go try this from someone who was a coach, and you went and got some formal training.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Oh,
yeah. Speak to that a little bit.
So I went through a incredibly intense 1-year training program where we met in person once a month, Saturday and Sunday, 10, 12-hour days.
Wow.
Incredibly intense and awesome. And we also worked with a coach to work on our stuff to grow as a person and, you know, work through the challenges we're having in our lives and achieve goals that we wanted to achieve. And so I went through that program, and it's a ICF, International Coach Federation.
Well, I've been hearing about this because I've been talking to a lot of coaches lately.
That's right. Yes. So the International Coach Federation is our governing body for coaching. And it really is the standard for coaching. And so it is the school that I went through, it was credentialed through them. And so then I went through that program. I got certified through the ICF afterwards. So I went on to earn that credentialing. And then I stayed on as a mentor coach the second year.
Oh, wow.
it's kind of like grad school of coaching. When
Right,
you
right.
teach somebody, you learn more, and it takes
Yes.
you deeper. So that's my original training. And then 3.5 years ago, I kind of started nerding out on the mind and found how powerful our subconscious mind is. And so I went on to get certified as a master practitioner of Neuro-Linguistic Programming,
Oh, my.
Hypnotherapy, and timeline therapy. So,
Man.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
This gal has the street cred. So, not to try to go through the whole curriculum by any means, but what are some of the skills or disciplines or strategies? What's an example of a couple of things that you go and you learn and you practice? I'm assuming a relatively safe environment
Oh, yeah.
in
Sure.
when you're going through this ICF thing or something like it.
Oh, yeah. So they have, we would get, we would coach other participants.
Oh, so you're getting real flight time
Oh,
to
yeah.
practice all of these things.
And then the trainers would grade you.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So it was a little intimidating,
Ah,
but it was incredible because you learned. You learn by doing, not by reading,
Right,
And
right.
so they really pride themselves on making the best of the best. And so, active listening is huge. Following the client's agenda, not your own agenda, right? So, asking, questions, accountability, all of those things were part of our training.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned earlier in the conversation, people have a tendency sometimes, maybe often, to hold themselves back.
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing you speak more to that and why you didn't hold yourself back when you were taking this opportunity.
Yeah. So you mean when I took the opportunity to quit my job after a couple
Yes,
weeks?
that seems like the perfect opportunity to hold oneself back.
Oh, yes. Well, what happens for me, and I tell this to my clients too, is when you get really clear on your vision, you start making decisions aligned with your vision and your values, right? And I made the decision that I wanted to be a coach, and I felt like it was out of integrity for me to continue to work for somebody else and pretend that I was all in, right? And so I knew that I could be all in on, growing as a coach and starting to build my coaching practice, or I can go out and still sell mortgages. But it would be very hard to do both, at least both well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I loved the boss that I worked for. I worked for him for 13 years. He had opened an incredible mortgage company, and I really valued my relationship with him and everybody in the company. And I didn't feel like it was fair for me to go become a coach and go through this training and start building a coaching business and not be, 100% for him too.
And there are apparently, well, I guess you'd call them specialties within this. I mean, within this discipline, and you really gravitated more and more to mindset. I think you mentioned. Speak more to that, if you will, and if there is an element, and I suspect there is, of the subconscious, the impact the subconscious has on the decisions we're making, the words we're saying, the actions we're taking.
Yeah. So we, my big thing is personal development and mindset. I believe that when you focus on growing as a person and becoming the best version of you, everything else takes off. So I had a client who hired me after 5 years of owning his business. He had taken his business to $1 million, and he, worked all of the time. He slept at the office, all of that. He hired me, and we started working together. And 5 years later, his business was worth $10 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said that he contributes that to taking care of his health and well-being, working on his mindset, just all of the personal development stuff, because you can only take your business as far as you're willing to go, right? And your business can only be as good as you are. So that's my belief, is that when you work on the person, the rest falls into place, especially the mindset, because our unconscious mind or our subconscious controls 90 to 95% of everything we do. That's where our beliefs are, our fears, our values. that's where our habits are. Everything starts at the subconscious level.
It seems to a layperson like me, or at least this layperson, that would be. I don't find that difficult to believe at all. But it sounds intimidating. It sounds like it would be very difficult to tap into that, and much less shift it.
Okay, so let me normalize it for you.
Okay.
So tapping into your subconscious isn't like being in trance, right? It's not like I've got a little
like the watch going back and forth. Right.
You're getting very sleepy. So what it really is about, think about a number from 1 to 100. What's the first number that popped into your head?
50 for me.
Was it the very first number, or did your conscious mind get involved in the first number was something else? And then your conscious mind said, oh no, this one.
Actually, probably 61, because that's how old I am.
Yeah. Well, and so what happens is our unconscious mind is always that first answer.
Ah.
Then our conscious mind gets involved and starts saying, no, that's not the right one. Say this instead.
And so that's what I said right here in front of God and everybody and on air. I said 50, but really
the first
61
was the first one that popped
and maybe
into your
because
head.
that's been on my brain a little bit, that I'm 61 years old and I need to be getting a lot more done a lot faster.
No, you're perfect. You look great.
I got all these stuff. You're really helping me tap into this stuff right now. This is real world.
Real world. Yeah. So, and so when I work with my clients, I pay attention more to what they're saying underneath the story, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but what a tremendous skill. Oh my gracious. to be able to read between the lines and underneath the story. Man.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
So, what does that look like? Is it as simple? And I don't mean to say that it's less than when I use the word simple. Is it as simple, though, the mental image I have of just, you and I sitting here and having a conversation? I got to believe there's some structure, some discipline, some rigor to what you're walking me through. But my experience of it may be a lot of just conversation. Yes,
it's definitely conversation.
Okay.
Well, and I don't do anything that's not fun. So I like to laugh and I like to have a good time. And so what it really comes down to is that we can unpack the deep stuff and still have fun in the process. So, some people think that coaching can be, really hard work. And sure, it's powerful work, but I don't think it has to be hard. It doesn't have to be painful, right? And so when I work with my clients, I just keep asking questions to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's just like you and I talking right now, except instead of you asking me questions, I'm asking you questions. And, I'll just keep asking questions to go deeper and deeper into what's going on.
Well, you've touched on an important point. It was another interview I think that I had where the lady was trying to describe the difference between a consultant and a coach, and there really is quite a distinction. On the coaching side of things, it's much more about sort of letting that. I'll let you articulate it.
Yeah. Well, so with coaching, we believe we're partners. It's two equals to coming together, right, for the same goal. My goal is my client's goal, and with consulting, you have a superior, somebody who's an expert in marketing, right? Or business development. And that person's going to tell you what you need to do. Where I believe that you have the answers inside of you, there's just some gook in the way that we got to clear out and really help you discover what those answers are. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. So the work mostly with individuals or with teams, or is it several individuals in an organization? And then the second part of that question is, can you achieve some kind of capability transfer? Like you're leaving them with coaching skills that they can at least model, if not replicate.
Oh, sure. I mean, they definitely can model. That's how we learn. I mean, you think about a child learning to walk or to eat. Right. They pay attention to, bigger kids or their parents, we learn by modeling. And so, and that's actually one of the reasons why they thought it was so important for us to have coaches in my coach training program is because it's another way for us to learn how to coach is by being coached. Right. So, And then, there's always pointers that I give, whether it's in relationship or, to employees or, different things like that. But mostly, there's a little bit of training that happens. There's, consulting a little bit, but for the most part, it's about helping the clients discover the answers inside of them.
So I'm partially answering for a very selfish reason. In my role here in Business RadioX, a big part of my responsibility is to go out and recruit and initially train someone to run a Business RadioX studio, right? And I am a bit of a subject matter expert in that, how to get set up, how to really help people and make money. And so I'm thinking in the early going, I'm not coaching, I'm mentoring, I'm training, that kind of, but once they've been at it a year or two and they really are peers, I should be wearing more of a coaching hat and probably get a lot better at least exercising some of the disciplines that you do, right?
It depends on what outcome you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what's the intention behind that? Is it, because my suspicion is that there's still that mentor that you get to be to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can bounce back and forth. Right? You can be a mentor, and then some conversations might be a little bit more coaching conversations. Some may be more consulting conversations, and you can flow between them. To me, coaching is just about, for you anyway, it's about getting clear on what the person wants and what's the outcome that they're looking for.
Okay, but a professional coach, someone who is in your capacity, you're in that other role 100% of the time. I got the idea a moment ago when you were talking about asking the right questions and helping them uncover and tap in. I would think you could not stay only limited to, Stone and running a studio in Stone and trying to scale the network. You probably have to talk about the whole Stone, right? Like is that accurate?
Yeah, I talk.
Ask about the whole Stone, right? See, I'm learning. You can be taught.
You can be taught. So, yes, with my work, all of my clients create goals for their business. Most of my clients are business owners or executives. So they create career goals, they create relationship goals, health and well-being goals, and personal development goals. And then whatever other goals that they want to create. Because I believe that you're a whole person. You're not just one part of whatever area you want to work on. So they're integrated. And the thing I tell my clients all the time is that your health and well-being is the foundation of everything you do and everything you don't do. So how do you treat your body, mind, and spirit? Yes, everything you don't do. And relationships we're literally programmed for connection, right? So, making sure that those two areas are a priority is so important for people who have big things they want to accomplish in their career.
Okay, I want to go back to this idea of subconscious and having the subconscious work for me instead of me. Maybe I'm trying to be too controlling instead of me working for it. But do you ever run into any resistance or raised eyebrows when you start to talk about the subconscious having that much of an impact? And if so, how do you get people past that initial bristling with it? And maybe you don't. I could just see maybe a raised eyebrow from here and again. I don't know.
I do my best to try and normalize things for people and to meet them where they're at. So in the work that I do, all of my clients get a breakthrough session, which is a full day intensive. I usually split into 2 half days where we unpack a specific problem or area of life that they want to focus on. And we unpack limiting beliefs and fears and negative emotions and inner conflict and values and all the stuff that's underneath. So what I really tell people is that we're going to work through and unpack those roadblocks that are there to the thing that you want, right? Because there's a gap between where we are to what we want. And one of those things that we get to address are the unconscious roadblocks. And so, people tend to say, I'm willing to do it, right? Like,
okay.
And
by the time they're willing to come to you and write you a check, they've moved in that direction to some degree that they're willing to try something, right? Because
well, and also it's not, it's also the language that you use, right? So, meeting people where they're at. So I may say, have you ever heard of the subconscious? We start there, right? So then we talk about that a little bit. A lot more people than you think are familiar with the subconscious.
Okay.
Our habits. So if you think about driving, you consciously learned how to drive, but now when you drive, you don't think about it.
Right.
That's your subconscious. It's as simple as that, right? So it's teaching them that we're just going to unpack what those things are for them.
So at this point in your career, what are you finding the most rewarding? What's the most fun about it these days for you?
Oh, I love watching people transform. I mean, it's the coolest thing I had a client say to me not that long ago, it was actually a Instagram post that she posted to her friends saying, "It is so cool how my mind works now. I am a totally different person. I think different. I'm kinder to myself." And she's like, "My mind is so different than it used to be." And that's just so cool, right? Having people build up their confidence and trust themselves more and hit goals that they never thought that they could hit. It's just really cool to watch them get the life that they want to live.
That has to feel incredibly good. You must sleep very well at night, knowing that you're really putting a dent in the universe. You've been at this long enough now, and I can just hear it in your voice and see it in your eyes. I'm sure you're well past this. But I want to talk about the business side of running a coaching practice, particularly in the early, I'm going to say years, because I'm not sure you can pull it off in months, of something as simple and straightforward as going out and getting your first handful of clients. And then it may be how that may be quite different these days.
Yeah. Well, I was trained to be a really great coach. I was not trained to be a marketing expert.
Yeah.
And when you own a business, you wear all of those hats. You need to be a, CFO and a, marketing expert and the, the admin and all of the things. And to me, that was the hardest part, specifically the marketing, because my brain doesn't work naturally like that. I was a numbers girl. I am a numbers girl, that I was always problem solving.
Right.
And so, that was the biggest challenge for me was the marketing piece, and things with marketing, especially with social media, change so quickly that trying to stay on top of that and being the best coach I can be and, learning all these other things, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. So at this point, though, you probably, my experience has been nothing sells like doing good work.
Yes.
So that
referrals, word of mouth,
to have that track record behind you. But I do feel for people who initially when they're coming into this profession, or really any professional services provider kind of profession. I think a lot of them struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here again, you didn't let it hold you back. Right?
I don't know if it's stubbornness or determination. No, it's definitely, this is my purpose, and when you feel it in your heart, and I'll be completely transparent. Last March, my whole business crashed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, it just so happened I had several clients complete at the same time. I had one client who stayed, but his business partner and him broke up, and so he couldn't afford to pay me for 2 months. So
Ouch.
It was just bizarre, and I questioned everything. I was very I was in a hard place, and thank God for my mom, because she was my rock, and I needed to step back and really assess what I was doing. And it actually is why I decided that I am incorporating a breakthrough in every single, coaching relationship that I have, because I believe that that's the missing piece for any of the work. We can consciously go after goals and achieve things, but if we don't change how we think, it's going to take a lot of effort and kind of, in a way, self-manipulation, and so it takes so much effort and work to go after those goals if you don't change how you think. And so I decided, that to me, that's my purpose, is really helping people change their thoughts and their beliefs and really become stronger mindset wise. And so I now incorporate that into all of the work that I do. And I also realized that my purpose, where I thrive, is being with people.
Yeah.
I don't thrive behind a computer screen. I don't, writing blog posts or social media posts. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't bring me joy, and it's not. It just doesn't work for me. And so I got out there and I started developing relationships and doing more networking, and I feel better than I have felt in years.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, shout out to Mom and kudos to you. I mean, we've got like a half a dozen examples of you living into this work that you're trying to bring to other people.
Yeah.
I don't want to hit on it too hard because it sounds like you've figured out a way to navigate yourself, certainly, and others through any initial trepidation. But what would you say is the most prevalent misunderstanding, misconception, preconceived notion about coaching in general, and certainly, mindset and personal development coaching?
Yeah.
Do you run into some of the same stuff?
I think that with coaching, some people think that you're going to give them advice. You're going to fix things for them. And, and that's one of the hard things, for me anyway, is that you don't have to be a credentialed coach to go out there and say, I'm a coach. And so there's life coaches out there who have no education, no training, no credentialing, executive coach, same thing, right? All different kinds of coaches who are out there and just saying, I'm a coach. And there might be coaches who are amazing and awesome. And then there's other coaches who are out there saying, okay, what you need to do is X, Y, and Z. What happens is, if I told you what you needed to do, if you're not on board with it, it doesn't work. I once had a coach who told me, Nicole, you need to get out and you need to do Facebook Live 3 times a week. And she went through this whole list of all these things I needed to do to grow my business. I got off the phone. I'm like, yep, I don't want to do any of them. Whereas if I asked you, hey, well, what have you tried before? I could have asked, hey, have you ever thought of Facebook Live? I heard that is amazing. And then we would have a conversation and unpack maybe why you wouldn't want to do that and what would be more aligned with where you are and who you are.
Because to your point, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Hey, I'm going to switch gears on you
Sure.
here for just a minute. Interests, hobbies outside the scope of the work we're talking about. Most of my listeners know that I like to hunt, fish, and travel.
Yeah.
What's your thing outside the scope of this work?
Oh my! I love music. I love music. I love music, live music. I have 2 little nephews. Well, they're not that little anymore, 9 and 7, and they're my favorite people in the world. And I have a 25-year-old nephew too, who's pretty awesome, but he's too cool to hang out with me.
Sure.
So, hanging out with them is so fun. I moved here. I told you before we started that I moved here in April of 2020, and my whole family's together for the first time since 1992. And I love family barbecues and birthday celebrations and Sunday dinners, and that's cool.
I want all of you to know this is a very authentic answer, because I know this. Before we came on air, we did a sound check, and I asked her what she was going to do this weekend. She said, I'm going to go watch my nephews play soccer.
That's right.
So this is real. You're getting the real Nicole here. She's not making this stuff up.
Yeah.
No, I could tell I could just see it in your eyes and hear it in your voice, how much you enjoy being with family. And it sounds like 2 very bright stars in your life are these nephews.
Yes. Well, 3. They're
3.
3.
Oh, 3.
Just the 25-year-old is,
Okay.
too cool for me.
We'll give him some props.
That's right.
Oh, my gracious. Well, listen, before we wrap, I would love to, if we could, leave our listeners with 1 or 2 pro tips kind of tied to what we've been talking about. I'll frame it up as, producing better results in less time, but maybe specifically with respect to this, trying to get our arms around this mindset, personal development thing. So, and look, gang, the number 1 pro tip, reach out and have a conversation with Nicole.
Yes,
That's
please.
what I did. I tell them all the time, look, you want to talk to some really smart, passionate people and get some good counsel, get yourself a radio show, right? You just,
Oh, that's great.
but no, that's my number one pro tip is reach out and talk to Nicole, but let's give them something to chew on between now and then.
Yeah. So, circling back to last March when everything went upside down in my business, one of the things, and I believe it's because of all the work that I did, it was painful. It was one of the most painful experiences I've had in a long time, since before the housing market crashed when I was in the mortgage business. The thing that kept me going was that I didn't know why it was happening. And like I said, it was painful, but I knew it was happening for me, that it was something better was on the other side, and that I needed to take a step back and assess what I was doing and what was aligned with my heart. And to me, that trust is what it is so powerful when you can trust that your life is turning out the way it's meant to, that you just need to reassess.
Wow. Talk about breakthrough. If one can reach a point where they genuinely believe that what's happening externally from the world is not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You talk about a mindset shift.
Yeah.
That's a goal. That's a pearl right there, babe.
Yeah.
So what's next for you and how can we help? Is there a book in you? Is there the Nicole methodology?
Oh my, the pressure is on.
The Nicole certification process?
Right now I am just focusing on one-on-one clients, and there is a online program that might be in the future. It's just not there yet.
Don't let it hold you back.
No, it won't. It's just I have to wrap my head around it because I believe true transformation happens in one-on-one conversations, one-on-one coaching. Yeah. However, a very intelligent young woman who is part of one of my networking friends said to me, there are people who want your work who just aren't ready to go to that one-on-one place yet. So give them a little something. We need a little something. So that's in the back of my mind, and I'm processing that and seeing what that's going to look like. But I think that's something that'll probably come out maybe next quarter.
Well, I hope if and when you do that, and I have every confidence that you will, because I don't think you'll let anything hold you back. I hope you'll let us know, and I hope you'll stay connected with us and let us continue to follow your story.
I would love that. Thank you.
So what's the best way for our listeners to tap into your work and connect with you, whatever coordinates are appropriate, but let's give them a way to do that.
Sure. I think the easiest way is to go to my website at NicoleComisCoaching.com. And all of my socials are on there too, Instagram, Facebook. But my website is where it's all at.
That's right, because we don't like the social as much. I think we uncovered that in the Stone coaching session that we did. What's the website one more time?
NicoleComisCoaching.com.
Nicole, it has been an absolute delight visiting with you this afternoon. You are a breath of fresh air. You're inspiring. You have such a marvelous perspective. I took copious notes.
Amazing.
And you and I are definitely going to stay connected well beyond this. Thank you so much. The work you're doing is so important, and we sure appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Nicole Comis, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you in the fast lane.